Fast Fire with Greg and Mark.
Yeah.
What's it like running a box plant?
Well, one thing I'll start off by saying is that, to dovetail on what Greg is saying, is put yourself in the shoes of a buyer. Now, that might be a person who has a buyer position or whoever's going to make the decision to purchase your product. If that product costs 5% more than what he's been buying, will that buyer get in trouble? It depends on the culture of the company. Maybe, maybe not. But if that buyer chooses a vendor that's cheaper and the product fails in the field, or an assembly line is shut down because the delivery was mixed, will that person get in trouble then? Big time. Big time. So think in terms of the fact, because the buyer already knows this, that you can control his destiny. And that's powerful knowledge on both sides. And if you think that doesn't matter, Weyerhaeuser, this is our scenario for the worst thing that can happen to a box at Vanguard. And it truly happened to Weyerhaeuser. They had a truck with hazardous chemicals. Mm-hmm. This customer of theirs made hazardous chemicals. They were in their boxes. The boxes failed on the truck while driving through the middle of Atlanta in rush hour. The entire highway got shut down, and who's in Atlanta? CNN, who covers this massive traffic jam on national news caused by a box failure in a truck of chemicals. You think that buyer lost his job? Probably, because he bought on price. So we use the rush hour at Atlanta scenario.
There you go. I got a real world story that just happened to us. We lost a huge, I think it was a huge account in that it was a very profitable account. $2.2 million, $1 million in profit. That's a huge account in reality. Literally $1 million of profit with this account. We lost it 3 weeks ago on a Friday. Our sales rep walked in. The guy fired her. You're fired, you're done, you're out of here. She's going, why? Your marketing department loves me. The package development people love me. We've done this, that, and the other thing. Doesn't matter to me. I've saved 300 grand with you. You're done, you're out of here. She just like put her tail between her legs and walked out. Why did we lose that account? Wasn't the 300 grand. She never went to him and told him what she's doing on the other side. I had the opportunity to do that yesterday. I did a whole bunch of analysis on this account. Through redesign of her bases on her displays, we basically saved them over $370,000 a year on freight. We're able to double stack a display, right? You get 26 box pallets in a truck. If you can double that, suddenly you get 52. We cut their freight in half. We redesigned that same base, redesign it so it's a one piece of their inventory. Folds up faster, everything. This guy didn't know it. Their marketing people knew it. Their package development people knew it. Purchasing didn't know it. So you gotta sell everybody. It's not just the buyer. You've gotta get everybody going. You gotta meet more friends, right? And you can't just sell one segment. You gotta sell deep. I looked at that as a failure on me, because unfortunately I didn't have the opportunity, or I did have the opportunity but didn't think about it, to go play in that sandbox with all those people and not sell deep. If you want to keep running this company, you got to get out into your customers and sell deep with everybody else. And I ask this all the time because we don't do it. Do you do that all the time?
Not all the time.
We got to do it all the time. Let them run the company, you and I go out, and let's go pee on trees. That's what we got to do.
Can I use your seat behind the bench at the Lakers?
Sure, come on out. Come on out. But that's a real world story. And the numbers that we came up with yesterday were in excess of 700 grand of savings that we had delivered in the last 2 years. But we got plucked for 300 grand. I will get that account back.
Keep in mind, what the product they were selling, the buyer viewed it as one link in a chain.
Yeah.
But the marketing people saw multiple links. I don't care if you're selling a brown box. There's probably a dozen links in that chain that box purchasing decision impacts. Freight being a big part of it.
On our web, or on every presentation we give, we involve, even if we're going into POP account, we involve the industrial box. And on it is a slide that says, a box will cost $1, but it costs you $3 to utilize that box. And these are studies that we've done to really back that up. Freight, labor utilization, space, inventory, all those things. This is an industrial box. $1 to $3. Get those 3 nailed down and publicate them to the whole company. Don't just let the purchasing person know it. Everybody's got to know
Don't let
it.
them define it for you.
And remember the
Kobe had a
decision maker? Kobe.
So what's going to happen with the account?
Oh, we had a great conversation with the buyer and the buyer's boss. I hounded this guy from July 2nd every day, two and 3 times a day. I mean, hey, this is me, CEO Greg Tugger, throwing away a 25-year relationship over we don't know what, maybe a price, but we got cut off on a dark Friday. I'd like to meet with you and discuss that. And I just bugged the living hell out of him so much so that he called, where are we? Friday today? He called Tuesday to set up an account for yesterday. And I had an opportunity, at least by the phone, to have a conversation with him and the buyer. And I didn't fry the buyer. This is a buyer that builds a bubble around him that you can't get into, but I opened the door to his boss, right? So now we have an open opportunity to bring in all of the things we do and make that work. We'll get that business back inside of 2-3 months, easily, easily. Very excited about it. I love hunting.
One of the things I'll go back to on the small part of Mike Harwood that I heard about was he is a big believer and preaches. I'm developing a new language of my own.
You're getting a speech impediment like I
Yeah,
got.
preaching impediment, that's right.
A preaching
He
impediment.
preaches actively the move toward lightweight liners. And for those of you that are on the associate side, the biggest hurdle to a Vanguard, for example, using lightweight liners is we don't have the right kind of equipment. And we don't have the knowledge from you guys as to how to convert lightweight liner. My Flexo folder gluers would take lightweight liners and would turn it into heavyweight toilet paper by the time it went through because it wasn't built for lightweight liners. So we need your all's help. Lightweight liner, I don't care what part, Rob, you make ink. You need to be able to explain to somebody that maybe it does or doesn't, but impact or have a change with lightweight liner. But everybody that's an associate member needs to understand how this movement toward lightweight liner impacts their product and tell us about it because it's coming. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, because Europe is distinctly ahead of us on the packaging side, and it's already very prevalent over there.
Can I disagree? Okay.
You'll be wrong, but go ahead.
I think Mike, bye Paul, thank you for your service.
Bye, Paul.
My conscience is leaving. All right, you guys, let's party. No. Anyway, Mike sells for a recycle mill, okay, and he's going to push recyclability with his recycle mill forever till the cows come home. In reality, he made a statement that from one part of Europe to the other part of Europe is just as close as California is to New York. Our shipping is much farther than anything in Europe. We ship constantly from LA to New York. We ship, I'm not saying we, but our industries ship constantly across country. You can go to Germany to France inside of what, an hour? One country to another country is 10 minutes. I guess it's kind of like that Rhode Island, and you go through Rhode Island in 20 if you're going fast enough. But in Europe, things are tighter and smaller. Also in Europe, warehouses are lower. We stack 5 high in America. They stack 2 and 3.
Their trailers are smaller, too.
Yep. So in reality, this notion that the super lightweight liner's coming in, I disagree with you.
Okay, I'll give the counter argument.
Okay.
Then they can decide on their own.
All right, here we
The
go.
new green pack mill in New York, it's capable, what, Steve, down to 19-pound liner?
I got 17.
Great McDonald's clamshell.
Yeah.
Perfect
And there's a
application.
place for it, but we've tested it at Heartland on, I believe, their 23-pound liner. And the report back to me was, it's as good as anything they'll be able to make at a 33 and 35 pound.
You mean you tested their 23?
23.
We run 23, 23, 30 all the time.
The
Right
point I'm
now.
getting at is these modern mills are
Yeah.
making a very
Yeah.
good sheet and lightweight. It's
Right.
all about getting basis weight out.
But we're not going to run 13-pound liners and things like that.
No,
That's what Europe's really doing.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. But we are very, very, very hooked in North America on 33 to 42 pound liners.
Right, and Chuck from Custom, I'm only going to run a 26-pound medium. I'm going to call him Wednesday. I'm traveling still. I'm going to call him Wednesday personally and say, Chuck, guess what? In 2 years, you're not going to have the availability of a 26-pound liner.
Start learning how to convert something like
Yeah, he wouldn't know the difference. Realistically, if you change 23 with 26, you will not know the difference at all, whatsoever. Zero. Matter of fact, 23-pound liners are performing better than 26-pound liners by something like 4 and 5 and 6%. It's crazy. All right, where's some ugly questions?
All right. So we try to work as high up in the organization as possible. So we like to work with the presidents or some high up. So from your guys' sake, what is the best time to approach someone in your position? Is it
6:30 in the morning or 6 in the afternoon?
And is it early in the week, later in the week? Is there any method behind that?
You know what's really funny? I got my best accounts at like Friday in the afternoon.
I was about to say the
It's
same
really
thing.
weird. I got my best accounts
About
at
to say
Friday because
that.
no one's around and the guy's cleaning up his desk and all the salespeople are golfing, so they're not bugging him. So boom, he's sitting there or she's sitting there and bam. That's the best time to get
Friday
people.
afternoons, 3 to 6, you'll set more meetings up for the next week than any other time slot. I always made it a point to be at the desk on
Yeah.
Friday afternoons from 3 to 6 when I was selling. And just call after call.
And one other thing along with that, Greg, your 4 hours that you're talking about dedicating, not being on email, not being on the phone. I mean, that's
Be on the phone or be in the face.
Not the email, the internet, things like that. But it's pretty tough to do that.
If you agree with yourself, you're right.
Well, are you doing were you doing it in a couple hours here?
No, I would just try to block out 4 hours. Don't interrupt me, go away.
Well, I would assume that many of the emails you get, you should be telling them they need to copy someone in sales service or an assistant like he had.
Yeah.
Let them handle it.
I set up an auto forward to my inside salesperson on a phone call.
See?
Yep.
Look at that. I mean,
I give her the confidence to make decisions.
yeah.
She
No,
calls me when it's important.
another thing, everybody, trust your inside people. Don't try to do it yourself. Trust your inside people. I mean, it's really nuts. My biggest hamper when I was growing up in sales was I didn't trust anybody. I'm going to do my own quotes because I'm better at it. I'm faster. I can get it done like this. What was I doing? I wasn't having any pay time, right? I was doing someone else's job. Trust that man. He's good at what he does. Let it rip. And if they're losers, get them out.
The funny part about that is over the course of a year, there's every likelihood that Casey's going to talk to your customers more than you're going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
My person inside Sherry, her name's Sherry, I don't even know what the heck she's doing. At the end of the day, I see, God, Greg, you just booked 200 grand. Well, I don't know what I did. It's like, wow, that's crazy. That's where you want to be, And if you want to blow away $880,000, there's nothing wrong with going up to 1.5 or 2, getting yourself 2 or 3 customer service reps, 4 assistants, and rock and roll.
That's a good topic to cover just a second. Probably shouldn't say the evil empire's name, but at the FBA, what used to be called sheet plant meeting, now it's executive meeting, there was some discussion about, is there a magic number that a salesman sells that they should have their own dedicated team behind? And the interesting part in that room is that we were in the process of doing that very thing with several of our salespeople creating their own dedicated team. There was another person in the room. Were you at that meeting in Del Mar?
No, I didn't go
Okay,
to
there
that
was
meeting.
another person in that room who is located in San Francisco. They have 2 salesmen that each exceed 25 million a year in sales. And he said that giving them a dedicated sales service person was an unnecessary expense. Hello?
You're kidding me.
No. John.
John Mayo. It's Modesto, by the way.
That was a hard one for
That
you
was
to guess,
easy.
wasn't it?
Wow.
But the,
number's 5 million.
I think I look at it in a month. I think if you're hitting 500 grand a month, you need help, because that will allow you to double to $1 million. You really need an extra person.
but see, a 500,000 a month in boxes and 500,000 a month in displays are two different things.
No,
So
they're not. It's dollars. I'm talking about dollars.
Complexity level
It's
is
dollars.
different.
Boxes are easier.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that figure might be a little lower if somebody's selling displays.
Yeah, still. It depends on the count and all that. You could be right.
Yeah, it's just a different complexity level between the two. So other questions, this is your chance.
What about production questions? Any of those? Finance questions?
He dropped his hand as soon as you said it.
Okay.
How about production questions? Nope. Go ahead.
From a supplier point of view, you guys being buyers, what do you guys look for as buyers?
I look for number one, quality. I look for service, dependability, and trust. Price
Are
is
you
the
talking
last
about it
one.
like if we were buying a machine or?
Or if I was buying a machine, same deal. Or if I'm buying paper or whatever. Quality is important, reliability, big time, and trust.
How much do you take? How much of that do you take from the direct person that you're dealing with, just how he treats you and how prompt he is?
Well, that's I believe a salesperson is an ambassador of the client, of the customer, or of the supplier. I mean, you are the ambassador of the company. If you're schlocky, show up too late, you're disheveled looking, you look like me right now, I'm not going to buy anything from you. But if you're on the spot, you have it together, it's important. I mean, right now we are interviewing a ton of people, and one of the first things I want to know from somebody is, what do you know about us? And let that person talk. It's amazing what we're finding out there. People don't know anything, and they're trying to get a job with you. They know nothing about your company. In the land of the internet, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I would answer additionally, because I would agree with him. Independent box plant owners tend to be somewhat addicted to machines.
Yeah, we're gearheads.
And so there's really, I
Your
think, two
dad.
types of people in that group. There's the kind, and I would say that Clay used to be more this way, but he's transitioning to the other way, I'll say, which would be that Clay would look, or this type of person would look at a Flexo and say, but there's a better Flexo out there. And so he would go in search of that better Flexo. Thus, he's what, the only independent with a Mitsubishi?
Could be, yeah.
And so he
Yeah.
would go that approach. I think that I tend to be a different way, and I see Clay transitioning to this in addition to looking at the Flexos. Clay's a much better purchaser of equipment than I'll ever be. I look at what that technology difference will do for me in the marketplace. How will it move me forward? So that's why we have a production digital press, you have a production digital press. If you isolated a digital press on its own and did the analysis, most of us would never consider it.
You wouldn't put it in the plant.
Yeah, but you have to look at those peripheral things that it does for you. And I know what he's doing with your Batavia plant now reflects that he's looking more like that. So I think you have the people that say, okay, I'm basically a rotary die cut, flexo folder gluer operation. I need to know what they've done to reduce setup times, increase run speeds, blah, blah, blah. And then there's guys that are probably more you and I are in, which is, what's the next thing out there that takes me to the next level? Mm-hmm. Because most of us, and we disagree on stuff all the time, you may have noticed, but that's healthy.
Very healthy. You don't want the same people around
Yeah.
you. Doesn't work.
I think most of the guys like us don't really care that Flexo A produces 12,000 kicks an hour and Flexo B produces 14,000 kicks an hour.
If they're that close, no.
Yeah.
But 4,000 and 12,000 is a problem.
That's a different scenario. We would be more inclined to look at how a digital press puts us into a new market, how a tri-feed gluer does this, how a, whatever does that.
But let's go back to the 12,000 an hour and 14,000 an hour, right? If you're representing a machinery manufacturer, I'm going to look at reliability, trust with my salespeople, trust with the maintenance people, trust in the longevity of that machine. I mean, some machines, you burn them in 10 years. We've got an SNS, your SNS flexo folder gluer? We have the same one sitting in our plant. It was there the day I walked into the plant in 1981. Thing runs like a top. That is old. That's 33 years old.
Okay, so he looks at an S&S same way I do. What's its reputation? Best steel in the business.
Yeah.
I didn't say the best run speeds, best I said the best steel in the business. All of these machines get reputations over
Yeah.
time.
And they're getting better. They're getting more better.
I've known both of you a long time, obviously.
Me longer, but
Are you sure?
well, I'm not sure. The way he acts occasionally.
So are you going to ask him about when he's walking out of the business and you guys can take it over?
You, as owners or top people at your company, handle being told that you're wrong very well, or you don't respond to it.
I've never been wrong. You've been wrong. I wouldn't know.
I've been wrong. Yeah.
What is, when you're approaching the top person at your company, and you are very, very confident that you're correct and the owner is incorrect, is it best to just avoid that situation from your perspective, or is there the proper way to approach somebody at the top of your company and demonstrate to them in any aspect of the company that there is probably a better way to do something that's going to...
I'll ask Sahar. How do you approach me when I'm wrong?
That's like him asking me, though. I'm sure
I
that's-
talk to him one-on-one. It's never good to do it in an open forum. It's better to do it one-on-one and have your facts straight. And don't go with personal opinion, go with your facts. And he's very receptive to it. I mean, there's definitely been times, I'm not gonna lie, that maybe initially there's, no.
I'll rip her head off at
Yeah,
first, but then no.
It's not a calm
Yeah, but from
conversation, but
Sahar and I's career standpoint, for instance, is it better for us in the long term to just let it ride?
No.
no.
You're undermining your company. You're selling yourself short, right? And you're letting him and me get away with
I'm
murder.
making it too personal just for the sake of the discussion for the whole room, but, so you would say, let's assume that the owner isn't my father.
Let's say whether he is or not.
They should approach the owner.
Yes,
They should.
by all means.
Yeah, but you've probably seen by now that my approach will be, I'm less interested in what you think and more interested in what you know. Tell me what you know that supports why I'm wrong or you're right.
Which is the facts.
Yeah.
It's something that we
I
have.
think you're wrong. Well,
Doesn't
you know,
work.
I think I'm 30 years old and good looking. You know, nobody cares what I
You're
think.
30 years old and good
Well,
looking?
that's what I think.
And it's not
Wow.
to say that an owner or CEO of a company would be there if they weren't right 95%.
Oh, you'd be shocked.
But
You would be
there are those
shocked.
instances,
A lot of guys
I'm
get
sure
there
we all
just from the
find
last
ourselves
name.
in-
Yep, it's the gene
the
pool.
Situation of, do I bring up the 5%? Or will my career be stronger if I just celebrate the 95%?
I think you gotta bring it into the CEO. If there's an issue, you gotta bring it in. If he's wrong or she's wrong, you gotta bring it up. And I think what we're doing it.
But if you bring up the
Companies,
5%.
The weakest people get promoted because they're the least threat to the person that's doing it.
Yeah, they're losers.
And that's different in a private company.
Right.
But keep in mind, if you bring up the 5%, 95% of the time, people are going to shut you out after a while.
I think what we're trying to develop in our company is a culture of what we call one-to-ones. Every one of us has a one-to-one every month. I have too many reports right now, but I have 12 reports, and I got to whittle that down. I have a one-to-one. It's an hour, hour and a half a month, once a month, with, like Sahar's a direct report of mine, and we're talking about how she's doing, and she has every opportunity to say, Greg, you're like blowing it here. You need to be thinking about going over here. And it's great because we're working together one-to-one on the business, and it's very important to do that. You also know what's going on with that person, what's going on with that person's head at home, what's happening in their environment at home, which affects the work life. A lot of people say never allow the home life to come into the work life.
Possible.
But if you do allow that outwardly commentary, about home or about the relationships that are happening in his or her life, and allow that venting process, it's done there and it's not all in the company. It's a really wild thing, and I think we're getting great success. Our company knows what we're doing, all the way down to the bottom.
The fact that you're ESOP, does that change the dynamic of the subordinate boss scenario? Because
I'd
she
have
is
to-
an owner and so are you.
But I'd have to ask Sahar.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, does that change it?
I think it's the message of the company. I mean, from everyone, top to bottom, everyone's an owner. So yeah, it does change that dynamic because it's instilled from the moment you walk into that building. It's a privilege to be part of. And he does a very good job of making sure that every employee knows that you affect the business and you're part of the business. And we do a strategic plan every year now that we've done for a couple of years that we share with everybody. We share our financial with the entire company. And it trickles down leasing to the one-to-ones. I have 13 direct reports and I do one-to-ones with them. And we go over where they individually expect the strategic overall plan. So,
That's good.
And it goes all the way
Yep,
down.
so our plan's starting with our leadership group and cascading down to every individual in the company. So every individual is a contributor to our share value, okay? And it's to get there. It's taken us probably 3 years, 2 real strong, but we meet once a year, do our strat plan, and then every quarter we're refining it. Because you guys, the horizon changes so fast, right? Your whole strategy can change when, oh God, Mark just moved into my market. What are we going to do? You know? Uh-oh, we better change this, that, or the other thing. So we're working on that plan every quarter. And then we're cascading in destination models how we bring that message down and what everyone's roles and responsibilities are to make that happen. Hey, that's my theme.
Yeah. Greg asked if there are any production questions. Any? This is probably not a production-oriented group,
Okay.
most likely. So can somebody make one up?
How and when do you guys divide your time between working in the business and working on the business?
That's a tough one.
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Number one, I'm out of the office once a month minimally, working on the business. And then,
That's going to change the end of September.
no, I won't give that up. It's very important.
He becomes chairman at the end of September.
But I'm literally gone one day working on the business with a CEO group of not in this industry, but in all types of different industries. And what's great, it's almost like another board of directors holding me accountable to what's going on with our company. But it's at least one a day completely out, no calls, you can't get me. And then I have a business coach out of that I work with 2 hours once a month in a one-to-one relationship.
In most privately owned companies in our industry, you've got some old dude like me hanging around. And the simple fact is, move over so I can see Chase better. Simple fact is that...
I didn't fart.
No, I just wanted to address the question here. The reality of the situation is we have very talented and capable people, but if I walk through that door, they're going to ask me questions. They're going to defer something they clearly know the answer to me. It's human nature. I don't think it's that they are afraid of getting in trouble, because we don't have that culture. People don't get in trouble for making mistakes at Vanguard. But it's just the way it works. So when it started getting closer to my chairmanship and hearing all these horror stories about the time that you're traveling and tons of conference calls you're constantly in on, I felt like our management staff was not up to par to handle me stepping away, so we beefed it up. The beauty of this is when I pass this over to him in a couple months, if I now go back to day, it's a shame on me. I am going to transition out of the weeds and into that 30,000 foot view. Part of that will be getting back with our customers.
Yeah.
There was a commercial years ago that none of you are old enough to remember.
The airplane one?
The airplane
Yeah,
one.
that's a great
This guy
commercial.
calls all his people in and he
That's the
said, we
best.
just lost Frank as a customer. Frank's been a customer for 25 years and we lost him because we don't talk to him anymore. And he walks around the room and hands an airline ticket to each person and
That's a
says,
great
we are
commercial.
not losing any more Franks. Okay, so I could see me filling that role. But now let me quantify that statement. Let me quantify that statement. The two most financially successful things we've done over the last, say, 3 years were both times when I stepped away from day to day and looked at something from a higher altitude and saw the possibilities that I would not have been able to see down in the weeds.
Did that come from a CEO group?
I'm sure in some form it probably did.
Remember we were working on margin and why are we showing up to work and not making money? And the
yeah.
money we should? Getting paid for what we do?
Yeah, so, you know, and I'll quantify one even more. If you acquire a company and they're a $100 million a year company, and you start the process of courting them to acquire them, in your mind, you got to have a point what you think that company's going to cost. As a rough rule of thumb, and it won't be this, but it'll be somewhere within a range of this, figure that half of their gross sales, so in this scenario of a $100 million a year company, they're going to cost you somewhere around $50 million. Now, if they're badly run, make no money, they've been going downhill for years, that 50 may drop to 20 or 25. If it's somebody like Bill, whose returns are way above the industry average, it might go above that based on multiplier of earnings. But as a rough rule of thumb, as you're going through those discussions, use that figure. Another way to look at it is you're buying $2 of sales for every $1 of acquisition cost, okay? By stepping aside, we made a small acquisition 18 months ago. We got $7 in sales for every $1 of acquisition. And I closed their operation down, got rid of 2/3 of their overhead and put it in our plant. It all went to the bottom line. So the ability to detach, focus on that, not be hung up over what item's going over the Flexo at 2 o'clock this afternoon, makes those things become reality. So I think I definitely need to do that. And most of our CEO group, Bill is still down in the weeds every day, but they make so damn much money it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Clay's still in the weeds, but he's separating himself out more all the time. I think as a group, we're all pretty much the same age, but we're all still kind of down in the weeds a little more than we probably should be. Agree with that?
Am I getting out or staying in the weeds?
Getting out.
Yeah, I'm finding it because I know what I get to do after him. I can't be in the weeds. And what I had to do and wanted to do, and I have to, you got to do this. You got to promote people from within to knock you out. You're going to get hit by the wine truck. I fired the beer truck driver. You're going to get hit by the wine truck someday. And you need to have a succession plan for your company to grow. And I think that's what I've been personally working on with Bay Cities. I have a succession plan that I get hit by the wine truck, we're not going to be bad. We're going to be rocking and rolling. And it's something I'm refining, and we are refining every day, every day.
So is that a problem with us not stepping up to the plate, or you not stepping away from it?
You got to step away. It's really interesting. I have to step away to allow these people to step up. Then they're going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. You don't let them make a big mistake. You'll come in with a buoy and pull it when they're making a big mistake. But you got to let them make decisions and let them rock and roll. Let them do it.
And the two are intertwined. We're not going to step away till we've seen you step up. So,
Wednesday, Chuck,
Chase.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Chase.
Thanks, guys.
23-pound medium.
So we're going to call you 23-pound Chase. All right, we'll do one more question, then you guys will be
Well,
free.
we may
Well,
have
we
two.
have two hands up. We'll catch both of them.
So kind of piggybacking off sort of Justin's question, you just asked, step out, we step in. I know most of the people here are in a family business, some of us aren't. So eventually, you all are going to step up and run Vanguard, and other guys here the same way. So kind of, do you have any tips? Because when we step in, I thought we're going to be mostly younger than the people that we'll be overseeing. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I think that there could be a lot of clashes between the way we grew up and I'm trying to be correct word here.
No, I understand what you're saying because we went through the same thing.
Our personalities are different than maybe the people we're managing's personalities.
Yeah.
So how effective, I'm sure y'all made it in the same way when you took over.
The guys we clashed with are all dead now. But the point is, we had our generational clashes occurred just like yours are going to. There's nothing different about that. One of the earliest AICC meetings I went to, was one of the first meetings for Rick Eastwood, Cindy Baker,
Wow.
Mike Syme. I mean, all of us.
SOBs.
Huh?
The old SOB club. So-
Yeah, I mean, all of our dads we were your age, and our dads were our age right now. And that question came up, that very question came up. We had all just become, say, sales managers or marketing managers or whatever, and the question was, we're stuck with our dad's hires. They don't understand us, we don't understand them. There's clashing going on. And I would say within 3 to 5 years, that group was gone on all of our companies.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
ultimately, you got to have your people in there.
Yeah. You know what, another thing that I struggle with is I grew up in this business. I started sweeping the floors in our design department. That was my first job, well, while in college. I'm a virgin, never been anywhere else. And I grew up in this business, and many of my employee cohorts were my friends. And as you elevate up in the business, it's not so much it's your friends that you now are the boss of. It's a difficult thing. I mean, it is really a difficult thing to, setting them down and having that conversation, really blowing at Frank and we got to do this and they're looking at you, well, what are you doing this? I'm your buddy. That is the hardest part right there to me. And you have to differentiate yourself as being the friend to you're their manager now. It's a different thing and it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to reconcile.
But if that older person can't get on board with you and you're the boss and you don't do anything about it, you could lose your job.
You could lose your company.
Yeah, so if Frank can't cut it, the fact that he's twice your age is irrelevant. Frank needs to go.
Yeah.
There was one more question, we'll end it here.
We had talked last night about in sales how you have to babysit so much. And we hear Bill Akers talk all the time about it's okay to fire customers.
Uh-huh.
My question to you is from younger salesman's perspective. When's enough? And do you want me to make that decision, or is that something you want to be involved in? And maybe not, the CEO's perspective, but a general manager, sales manager, somewhere in that role.
I think a company understands when enough's enough, and you're going to hear it from the walls.
Yeah.
Why are you bringing this piece of cow dung in here? These guys are good for nothing. Our profit level's in the tank with them.
Right.
All they do is aggravate it, da-da-da-da-da-da. And what's crazy, as soon as that salesperson cuts that business and affords him or her that more time to go make more friends, the bank dollars go up. And more importantly, the bank dollars go up in the whole company because everyone goes, I think I was who was I talking to last night about a $6 million company I got rid of?
It was me.
It was you. Yeah, I mean, I dumped a $6 million company away, adios. I mean, it was 184 hours in our design lab a week. It was something like $800,000 of inventory on our floor, okay? We were buying the printing and cutting dies to the tune of close to $150,000 to $200,000 a year, our costs, and this thing wasn't making any money. And the guy said, we need to reduce your costs, and we got prices out there that are double digit lower than yours. So I spent 2 weeks looking at the business. I knew in a day it was a dog, but I wanted to wait and drag and get him into the third week of the month. Walked into his office and said, we're leaving. Thank you for the opportunity. We're raising your price 11% to get us to zero, and we'll get you to the end of the month, 1 week of free pricing. We'll go one more month with you at 11%, and we'll help you transition this business. As soon as I walked out of that office, man, 60 to 80 pounds of rocks came off my back, and our company just went whoosh. It was $6 million that I assuredly knew we would pick up with just that effort, and our company just picked that up and boom. It was amazing.
We have walked away, you guys haven't been around long enough to know this, we've walked away from our largest account 3 times. We have fired our largest customer, not a customer, our largest customer 3 times. And we have a 100% rate of actually doing better after they were gone. It's kind of like firing an employee. By the time one of us finally fires an employee, everybody else says, I'd have done it 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Why'd you let this guy drag us down? We're the last ones to do it because we always think we can make it better.
Or
whether it's an account or a bad employee.
Or we're afraid of the change, having that guy or gal go.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing.
Change is different.
Yeah. Oh no, we can't do it.
But firing an account is not unlike firing an employee that isn't working anymore. When you're ready to fire an employee that isn't working anymore, it's time to get it over with. Well, that happens with accounts too.
So who do you want to fire?
Nobody.
He wants to start with me.
The only reason I asked.
They just want a
is-
family limited partnership done next week.
Thank you.
Because you're going to get hit by the wine truck someday.
You talked earlier about, devoting 4 hours, not answering the emails. And I feel like some of our salespeople have their own teams. I don't have 4 or 5 people devoted to me. I have a project manager, and so I send a lot of stuff to him. But the problem that I have is when I got to babysit multiple times throughout the day.
Why? What are you doing
it's hard
babysitting?
For me to, get through and get 4 hours out of the office.
What are you doing babysitting? Their job?
Babysit, you mean?
When you're babysitting, whose job are you doing? Your job or their job?
When you say their job, you're saying the project
In
manager?
his case, he has a customer that really doesn't know what he's doing.
And that's the thing,
Okay,
is
that's the perfect client though. Those are the golden clients.
Right.
You want those ones.
Right,
So you got to figure out a way of that you can dump off your plate.
right.
And I would look to build your project manager stronger.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think in this specific customer, it's more design and display oriented than
Yeah.
box. So it is more challenging and it is more in the office with the design team time. But it goes back to like what you were saying. I don't want to throw 184 hours of design time at
Right.
our design team, and when I'm only pulling in X amount of dollars compared to another account that I could be devoting more of my time to that is going to bring in twice.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't want to
just a
say this.
balancing act, basically.
I don't want to say this account is different, but the owner of that account wants me to go half and half with him on buying a lion preserve in Africa. You just never know what you get into with some of these people.
Wow.
Well, guys, we're going to end it here. And I want to thank all of you for coming. I hope everybody got something out of this that they can take back. I hope that those of you whose partners couldn't attend, you can talk to them about what they missed so they'll be more active. I know some of you have said, did you like to have more contact with your partner than you're getting? Any issues you have with a partner, get with Virginia on, I suppose. And so it is 11:30. You should have time.
Man, you're right on the money.
I tell you.
Wow.
You should have plenty of time to go check out now and get your stuff. So thank you for coming. I've enjoyed it. Steve, you have any words?
Mark, no, yeah, I do. I just want to, let's all acknowledge, Mark, I want to thank you for First Division creating this group, but also
Big
this
time.
program. I think I told you last night, this is the template that we're going to use for the future, and I think it's been inspirational to me to observe the learning that's going on. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
So I guess next time we got to do it in California. Good job, Mark. You want to volunteer? Oh, yeah.